Fandom, how's it going? Today we're going to be looking at the Daredevil Companion Omnibus, and we're going to see if this oversized collected edition does the Man Without Fear any justice. So, let's get into it. What do you need to know? Well, for starters, this is the Frank Miller Companion Omnibus, and if you've never heard of a Companion Omnibus, what it is basically just supplemental material or extra books and extra runs that are focused on a certain run of a writer or a character or an artist. In this case, it is Frank Miller. Now, in the original Daredevil Omnibus that was published a few years ago, you didn't have certain Daredevil key issues and key graphic novels that are included in this book. So you're probably wondering, what do I get in this omnibus that isn't in the standard omnibus? Well, in this you get a few issues involving Spider-Man and Daredevil. It's kind of a really cool team up, and Frank Miller drew it. And in the issue, Spider-Man goes blind and Daredevil has to help him out. You're also getting in here the Daredevil Man Without Fear miniseries. The Daredevil Man Without Fear miniseries is awesome. It's got art by John Romita Jr. and it was published, I believe, in 1993. And basically what it is that it retells Daredevil's origin. You start from the beginning of Daredevil and you see how he got his superhero senses, how he got his vision, how he got the whole kit and caboodle, and you see his first encounter with Elektra, his first encounter with Kingpin. It's a really great, I believe it's 4-issue miniseries that is drawn beautifully by John Romita Jr. And I think any Daredevil fan, if you've never read it, you owe it to yourself to read it. You're also getting in this omnibus quite possibly what I think is the best Daredevil story that's ever been told, Daredevil Born Again. Daredevil Born Again centers around the Kingpin discovering who Daredevil is. He finds out that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, and he does so because Karen Page ends up selling him out. Spoilers possibly for the next season of Marvel's Daredevil, or anything that is going to happen in the future episodes of the Daredevil TV show on Netflix. Karen Page ends up selling Matt Murdock out, and then the Kingpin proceeds to systematically destroy Daredevil on every conceivable level. He freezes his accounts, he blows up his building, he sends enemies after him. It is just horrible what the Kingpin puts the Daredevil through, but the thing is with Matt Murdock, does not matter how much you kick him, doesn't matter how much you beat him down, doesn't matter how much you just cut off everything that he has, he will always find a way to come back. I love Daredevil Born Again simply because of the fact that it explores Matt Murdock's psyche and you really get to examine him at the lowest point in his life. And you do get to see that Catholic guilt and how Matt Murdock just doesn't know where to turn to. He doesn't know if Foggy is going to betray him. He doesn't know if anybody in the Avengers is against him or if Captain America is even going to betray him. That's really what I love. Frank Miller dives so deep into the character and he really explores just Matt Murdock at the lowest of low points. When you think he can't pull himself out, he somehow does it, and when he does finally get to put on that red suit again, it is one of the biggest hell yeah moments that I've read in comics in a really long time. You're probably wondering, well, hardcover, doesn't he have the suit throughout the whole series? This is a Daredevil book. No, in fact, Matt doesn't really get the Daredevil suit in Born Again until the very end of the series when he earns it again after he goes through everything he's gone through and he decides, you know what, I'm coming back and I'm going to fight back the Kingpin and I'm going to take back what's mine. In this omnibus, you're also getting Daredevil Love and War. And Love and War centers around the relationship of Vanessa and Kingpin. What's interesting about this is that before this graphic novel, Vanessa wasn't in the comics that much. In fact, she was thought long dead. In this graphic novel, though, Kingpin ends up finding her body and he sees that her mind has been broken. It is fragile and it is not what it used to be. She doesn't even recognize who the Kingpin is. So the Kingpin ends up hiring a doctor to try and help her out. The way Kingpin decides to go about recruiting the doctor is that he ends up kidnapping the doctor's blind wife. And how does he go about it? Well, of course, he actually ends up hiring a serial killer. Now, the serial killer starts having delusions of the blind wife, and he starts realizing, oh, this was my last victim. This was somebody that I really cared about. Do I kill her? Do I not? When is the perfect time? It's really, really creepy stuff. So Daredevil has to actually intervene and save the blind wife. And on top of that, he actually has to intervene and save the doctor that is being held hostage by Kingpin. Bill Sienkiewicz is the art on this, and I have to be completely honest, I didn't care for it. It was definitely that 90s art house, really sharp, abstract edges, and it was actually kind of hard at times to tell what the hell was going on in the book, and I really didn't like this one at all. It was a bit of a slog. I really didn't care about the story too much, even though I know a lot of it does play a huge role later on in Brian Michael Bendis' run on Daredevil, but to be quite honest, I found most of this to be boring. At this point, you're probably wondering, what am I getting in here that I'm not getting in the standard edition soft covers or hardcovers that are already out? Well, let's dive into it and take a look. Okay, so what I like to do that a lot of people also like to do is that I like to dive into the omnibus so you can see what you are actually getting here. Right off the bat, if you take a look at the dust jacket, take that. How great does that look without the dust jacket? I mean, honestly, look at that. And look at the back. Oh man, yeah, that looks awesome. I love the back of that. So, we are now going to dive into this. So, let's move that a little bit more up so you can see. Boom. Start pulling in, start pulling in. You got the table of contents, including the issue, the name, the date. I love this stuff. I love when they include this stuff in the omnibus where they have the table of contents, you have the page number, you have the issue number, and you have the day that the issue was published. I'm a sucker for that stuff, honestly. I really am. I love when they put that stuff in there. You have an introduction by Ralph Macchio, not the Ralph Macchio that you know from TV or movies. It's a different Ralph Macchio, guys. And then boom, you have the Spider-Man issues. Now again, what I tend to do is that to avoid spoilers, I skip to the special editions. However, there really isn't any special editions in here, so we're just going to keep flipping through. I love the art. This is Frank Miller when he first started out. There really aren't any special editions in here other than the John Romita Jr. stuff that you find in the trade paperback edition. So if you're a sucker for special editions, this really isn't why you get this omnibus. You get this omnibus because it has a lot of really cool issues and a lot of iconic Daredevil moments. Another thing about Ralph Macchio in July 1987. And there you have Bill Sienkiewicz's art. And flip it through. Here we go. This is Daredevil by Frank Miller. This was actually the Bible for Born Again. Excuse me, not Born Again. This was the Bible for Daredevil Man Without Fear. So this is basically the outline that he wanted John Romita Jr. to follow. This is basically like the little story beats inside of it. And he would say, hey, I like this idea, what do you think about this? And then they would go and draw it. You also get a cover gallery in the back. And sketches. I'm a sucker for sketches. I love sketches. So a lot of cool stuff. So overall, a lot of cool stuff, but really nothing that is too crazy or out of the ordinary that you get in a standard absolute or a standard omnibus. Let's take a moment and acknowledge some of the other artists that are in here. I've already gone into ad nauseum about Bill and how much I really did not like his artwork in this series, but you do get artists like David Mazzucchelli drawing Daredevil Born Again, which is oh my gosh, so great. It's so great. His art is clean, beautiful line work, the action scenes. Let me just point out the action scenes for a moment. There is an action scene in here involving a chopper that is so great. It's so awesome. And he really does capture Daredevil when he is at the lowest of the low. It's something that I absolutely love. David Mazzucchelli is one of the best Daredevil artists, if not the best Daredevil artist, in my opinion, to ever grace the page. And of course, you have John Romita Jr. John Romita Jr.'s art on this is gorgeous. Now, John Romita Jr.'s art has evolved in recent years to a style that I really don't care for. In fact, I think some of his earlier work was a lot better, mainly because I feel it was more detailed, it had more pop to it. Some of the action scenes in here are beautiful. They are fantastic. And if you've ever wondered where does the black Daredevil suit come from that you've seen on the Netflix TV series, it's in here. It really is. And it is great stuff. I love John Romita Jr.'s art in here. In fact, I wish John Romita Jr. had kept up with this style as the years progressed and just evolved it, instead of turning it into some of the stuff that we see him do lately. Now, John Buscema does a one-shot issue in here that I think is absolutely well done, and I also think that Frank Miller, when he does his Spectacular Spider-Man issues in here, are really well done as well. Overall, art-wise, I think this is a really solid package, with the exception of the Love and War story arc, which, like I've already told you, didn't care for. So for those of you that don't know, I rate my books on a pass, borrow, buy scale, and I'm going to give this one a buy. You are getting some of the most classic Daredevil stories ever, and you're getting Love and War. And I think for the most part, as a complete collection, if you are somebody that has to have all of Daredevil, if you're somebody that wants to read all of Frank Miller's run, this is a must pick up, simply because of the fact that it does have Born Again and it does have Man Without Fear. If this is your first time checking out my channel, I do weekly reviews of special editions, trade paperbacks, hardcovers, absolutes, omnibuses, you name it, I basically do it at this point. I do trailer reactions. Oh my gosh, what don't I do at this point? But yeah, let me know what you think of the Daredevil Companion Omnibus down below in the comments section if you've ever read it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Love and War and some of the problems that I had with it. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. Let me hear you out. Hit the like button, hit the comment button, hit the subscribe button, and if you want to help out this channel, and I really do appreciate those that you do, my PayPal is going to be found right there, and it's going to be found in the description below. But yeah, love you guys. Have a great weekend.